Okay, video 2 of this understanding of the new way of living, and I am up against the clock because we are racing towards 2 o'clock, where what we could say the in-seating of the everyday programs kind of stops, and then we go into a little crossover period until 3 o'clock, and then that's it. Including also right now, I am here in my little house, which is connected to other houses. There are other people around me. They come home around 2 o'clock, between 2 and 3 o'clock. And then the energies drop because I align with it. So you kind of see, if I have to do it on this day, then I have to work against what my body wants and against what I would like it to be in the state of perfection. But the information still stands, and those of you who are doing this work, you will discover as well how many days you actually have to work in spite of not feeling up for it, because you have been tampered with during that time. The day has been taken away from you, especially when you begin to get your own business. And one of the first steps that you need to learn, as long as we are inside the base program and we are not fully reconfigured to be part of the future human communities and their host fields, we are in the struggle, constantly in the struggle of what remains of the base program, astral entities or underworld creatures or whatever, that are getting enormously hungry because they will be left behind with nothing that will keep them alive, which is the whole plan. And as that happens, the only solution is the androids that will come in. They're the only ones that can exist in worlds where everything is collapsing. So we have the insectoids that comes in first. When the devastation cycles begin, they chew their way through all and distorts everything with their energetic parasites. And then once all of that crashes and falls apart, then and chew away everything they can, like termites in a house, well, then the foundation is gone, and then the underworld rises up and take over, and then they chew away what's their portion of the fallen grids and racial networks, and then everything turns dark, and then the grays come in and can take over, have a period of time where they can use what remains of the proton level and turn it into their neutron configurations. And as they do so, they get a couple of thousand years where they can exist, and then they will travel to the next system that is undergoing the same process. So that's how the insectoids and the grays are traveling together. One comes first, and then the second one comes in, and they're chewing away the old LPU reality fields that no longer is capable of standing and are living up to the requirements of the original cycles. So we understand that, and we understand that that's the situation of our world. So with this, I know many of you might have difficulty in adjusting to that understanding without going into a doomsday modality. I don't go into doomsday. I just see these are the dynamics. I've seen it so many times before, and I don't feel like this is my home. And they say, well, that's why, Randy, if you felt this was your home, you would be devastated. And no, because I am looking at things with my double awareness. You say, well, then that's manipulation. Okay, let's take away the manipulation and say, okay, everything I'm seeing is manipulation to make me think that this is all about cleaning up stuff. Just please remember that technically I was dormant until 2016, and then I was really kicked in play. I had the beginning of the activation in 2000. And yes, I had sights and bleed-throughs, and many of you have had that during your childhood, but you have reasoned it out of your energy patterns, and you have adjusted, and you're living your life, whatever that means, and you have gotten used to it. But I never got used to it. Even if take away all of these things and just say, okay, let me just, for a period of time between 20 and 22 or something, I had a period of time where I just aligned myself. And I've been that during periods of time as well, where I just aligned myself with the reality. And I am so bored. I'm almost getting claustrophobic. I can't breathe when I go down and become normal human, so to speak. I can't breathe. It's like I'm suffocating. It is every day is the damn same thing every day. I'm just going, I can't breathe, I almost go into panic attack. You can hear how hard it is on my body. So I quickly just slip out of it again and say, no, thank you. That type of dense reality, that's for the clones, because they don't know anything else. They are like animals in the zoo. That's all they're accustomed to. And that's why they're content with it. But for the rest of us that have our higher order ability connected to our energy system and our physical brain, we are suffocating inside this reality. So would I even want it to exist? No, I would rather, not that I want that to happen, but I would rather exist in a world with a lot of aliens walking freely in the streets. Although that if that happened, then the laws and the directives and the regulations of these races would be even harsher than they are. And then I probably would be one of them, right? So we can't really say, I'd rather that than this, because this is what is. So we don't know what the rather is, other than we're just kind of trying to navigate our way through what we would call different transformative states of existence, where we're doing our very best every time. So it's not about envisioning the perfect future. And when you get the information of the future human communities, it is actually not about, you can get some of that. That's part of 5D Earth, but that's transhuman. They're playing on the human emotionality of a better future where everybody is peacefully living together and where the lion and the lamb are playing together and all of these kind of things, because they know that's what human wants. They don't want the tough path. They don't want the tough work and what they need to do. And they don't want to be in a reality where they have to work all the time and where they have to find that exhilarating and a fun thing to do, because people are kind of there a little bit lethargic because of the energetic parasites. They just want to lie on the sofa or the couch or watch telly and eat stuff that is unhealthy for them. That's the slugs, right? That's the clones. That's what they want. And they are imprinting every energy in our reality field to be like that, which is also why the grays that are now coming in are monitoring their base program and saying, well, after that time, 2 o'clock, then you stop working, then you go home and you do nothing. And the energies drop like crazy between 3 and 9 o'clock. Because all the slugs are coming home, and that means everything is dropping around me, and all I can do is just wait these hours off or out. So all I can do, I can go out in nature and exercise, or I can go out bicycling or do anything outdoor, but away from the housing areas. So there I get a little bit of more energy, but they are being affected as well. The afternoon tiring like everybody has, and that's because the slugs are coming home from work. Whereas while they've been at work, they've been aligned with the factory or the office or wherever they have been with the configuration there. They've been very effective. They're being controlled effectively there by the technology, and then they come home and collapse and just become the slugs that they truly are. So that's the base program. I'm sorry for saying it this way, but I'm saying it this way because that is what it is energetically. If you look at them energetically, they look like slugs. Not that there's nothing wrong with slugs, but slugs are enormously slow, right? I was watching, I have quite a lot of slugs in my little garden. I have a whole little sanctuary out there for all sorts of insects, and they are growing like crazy. And I got birds and I got all sorts of things going on out there. And it's fine as long as they that's your territory. I've got mine here, but they are kind of living off the vibration that kind of radiates from my home. Not that they are connected to me, because there are the distinction between them and myself. And I'm cleaning this out, and they know that. As you know, when I took over this house to begin with, they were trying to make me become an underling of their reality, which they always will try to do. And then you have to position yourself, and then you understand, okay, we segregate, you're that, and we're this. But yes, at least you made a little nice territory for us. So here we will thrive instead, and then leave you alone unless they want to be released and kind of, yeah, no, we're done. Then they crawl in, and then I'll have to deal with them. They always crawl towards me, which is ridiculous. They should run away, right? But they don't. They come out, position themselves within my perception field, and then I assist them in doing the crossing over. So that's the little retreat out there, right? That's the little restoration program until they get ready and remember as much as what they used to be, including my plants and whatever's going on out there. Okay, so that was a complete sidetrack. So, but when I was looking at a slug that was crawling across my garden, and it could crawl over a lot of stuff. It's very resilient. But man, the time it took, wow, that was amazing. So slow. Wow. And when we talk fifth dimensional energies, we don't have that slowness. We work so efficiently, so quickly, and everything is done in a whiff, so to speak, but it's done to perfection. So it's where you learn to find work funny. The slugs don't find work funny because they just want to lie on the couch and do nothing. So when they have to get up in the morning and get out. It's like torture. They don't want to do it. They really don't want to do it. But then they get to work. They get under the configuration of the business they're part of. And then they work like their asses off. And then they get home and they get tired. And then that's it. That's for the slugs. So that's not a world I can be part of or sustain in any ways or forms. So again, if we could build a little community on our own or something like that, then that would be nice. But as always, it takes an enormous amount of energy. The more people that are gathered together, the more the rules of engagement kicks in, and the more the self-responsibility, self-containment, and self-adjustability, and self-upholding, and self-scanning, and self-repairing, and self-organizing dynamics come in play. And humans on our planet are engineered to, when we go into groups, we kind of become the mass of the same consciousness. And we lose our individuality, which is the tribal setting. And then it all becomes about the tribe and upholding the community and the tribe. And then we develop defense mechanisms and protective means. And then we begin to shy out each other. And he or she is not following the rules. And we begin to point fingers. And there you have it. Because humans, like we understand in the saying of the Tower of Babel, humans are not supposed to learn to work together and be in teams where we could rise our consciousness potentials to the highest level, which is why all communities that have attempted to do that wears out eventually. They will be taken over by the dark ones one by one and reconfigured. And since people are so sure that the ones that are within the community will stay pure and clean because they're following the rules, they don't understand how the infection actually works. And we've seen that as part of human history. That's what has led us to where we are now. So I'm not trying to repeat that. So we are working as individuals. So we need to find joy in being individuals and not part of a group or a team. We can meet up from time to time where we then take the time afterwards to clear ourselves out and then prepare for a meetup and then be knowledgeable of the influencing factors that are playing in every time we do a meetup, which I've been trying to teach my students as well when we do group classes. But with an enormous amount of infection going on, well, then it's very, very difficult to have that running because people are not yet aware of all 9 dimensions of their emotional field and all 9 dimensions of their mental fields, and technically all 9 dimensions of their physical form, even though that we're only exercising 5 layers of them in our biocodes that are connected to the mental field. So we still have a lot of lessons to learn in this level of work with who and what we are and how we influence each other and how reality influences us and how other people influences us and how everything that we are part of is also part of us, and therefore we are interacting with it, which is the 4th dimensional holographic feature that is the most difficult one to learn. So to begin with, when we're doing this, and you will discover as you shift more and more out of the base program that you will not be lonely. You will, on the contrary, move into an extended version of reality that will broaden your perception of everything into a degree where you will say, whoa, You are not alone. You have a fly that comes in, the entity comes with it. You have bugs in your garden you communicate with. You're out in nature, the birds are no longer just birds. The black birds, the black feather ones, or the dark ones, the colored feathers ones, the Syrian A's, etc. You will see what they are. You can communicate with them telepathically, not that you will get the bird talking to you, but the entity that's in the bird. You will have the connection to the trees. You'll understand their true purpose. You will begin to see the world as this engineered construction that it is, and you will learn to communicate with the information systems in all of the items that are part of this world, and thereby you will no longer be alone. This is what has been talked about, unity consciousness. Even though it's always been elevated to a feeling the great love for everything and being in this kind, compassionate love, samadhi state is what the unity consciousness is. That's the distortion as well, because it isn't. It is an interactive communication with everything that is around you that gives off its holographic information system from where you can figure out how to deal with it according to the rules of engagement. And if it's not of your business, you don't interfere with it. If it is of your business, because it activates some level in you, you deal with your own business. You don't deal with the tree. The tree has its own business. You have your own business. But for a short period of time, you merge fields, and then the tree, if the tree wants, can take from that and learn the lessons as well as you can, even though the tree does not have what we call a personality. But it does have a purpose. It is part of the original Pleiadian programs to clear out the more dense type of or crystalline type of energies that this reality field came under after the timeline event, as you recall from the whole transition science course material. So as when I talk in the advanced work with the rotundum, I there dip my toes into what space really is and how we learn to navigate in space as holographic information systems, and everything that is around us are code sequences. They are information systems. It's not just a pillow, it's also an information system. It's not just a bird, it's also an information system. So are you. So this is information interacting with the information via the medium called holographic energy units that there can spark it to life and reconfigure it into different configurations that can take forms. And then via the consciousness principles can become a life form and create life force. But if there's no consciousness principles, then it's just energy that has a configuration that takes on a form. And that's the first step of distinguishing in the reality program that we're part of. Okay, so how do you shift your mindset into being able to deal with that kind of new way of living? And I suggest to you that you do a little bit of a role play here until you kind of get the feel of it naturally and you don't even think more about it. But to begin, you kind of have to do a little bit of role play, right? And what would be the best role to take in this new type of reality where you need to shift out of your personality matrix, indoctrinated, this is how you perceive the world modality configuration, and then get into a new configuration where you look at the world differently from a scientific perspective. And I would suggest you could either envision that you are on Star Trek, or you are on board a spacecraft, or that this planet is a spacecraft, and you have been outstationed here for a purpose. You could call it a mission statement. And you're here to work. Or you're on the space. I like the space station a lot because that's kind of where you live. You're there all the time. A spacecraft kind of moves in space, but a space station is stationary. So I like the space station more. Kind of, you are outstationed there for 5 years. So you have to go through 5 years, but you have trained yourself to get there for these 5 years to know why you are there. You are there to work. You are there with a purpose. You're not there for leisure time. If there is time for leisure, that would be reading a book or do something on your own behalf. Or you could meet up with some of the other scientists in the lounge, if you like, have a little bit of conversation, but most of the time it would not be a lot of personal stuff because we're only going to be here for 5 years and then we'll be on other space stations and we won't see each other again. If we do, then it would be nice. There could be a little bit, I miss my family back home or something like that, but it would not be these greater friendships that will come out of it. You will make, business or what we call science connections. You will build network that is with the professionality. That's all about your profession. It's all about what you're working with there. Your co-workers will be the ones you will talk to, and you will not talk personal issues other than just a little bit here and there, using the British concept of how close do we get to each other, right? We're just sharing a little bit so that we clear the air, that if you're going to the laboratory and you're kind of a little bit moody because you had a bad conversation with them back home, or had a bad night, as I sometimes have, all you need to say is this kind of, I just had some personal business I need to deal with. So I'm a little bit off today. It's nothing to do with you. Let's get to business. Let's get to work. And then when you begin working, you're just forgetting it. You're pushing it in the background, and you deal with it later when you come back into your own little room. You'll deal with it there, and then you clear it out, and you'll handle your stuff on your own because it's your stuff. It's no use for the space station. You're not there to share all your personal stuff sitting there in the kitchen over a cup of coffee and yapping on for hours about your husband and your kids and whatever. You show the picture. I got my husband, I got my kids, and that's it. And then, they're cute, they're sweet, and whatever. That's it. Then they just know, she has got that. That's all others need to know. Nobody needs to know who you really are. They need to know what you can do. They need to know how professional you are. They need to know you do your job well. They need to know that you're there understanding the rules of living on the space station. And they need to know that you are living up to this so that everybody can trust each other on the space station, so that they know, everybody knows this is the cultural setting we have here. This is the standards we have here. This is the way we operate here. We're not here to become best buddies. We're not here to fornicate with each other. We're not here to create intimate relationships. Some do, and that's kind of always looked a little bit upon. We kind of know, and then it's you begin you will share words, and you have rows, and you will have all of this stuff going on, and then drag all of that personal stuff into the space station. It's not really looked at well. So most of the astronauts and things that are going to space stations, they might not be there for 5 years, but that's part of the future. They will be selected for having a little need for intimate relationships. The movie Ad Astra with now I forgot his name, interesting enough. It will show up later on. Brad Pitt is showing that very, very well. He is so skilled for that work, and he has very little interest in personal relationships, which of course turns out because he has had a distant father and a cold mother, so he hasn't learned it, which of course proves to be a disadvantage in the long run. So instead we are having these literally or selected humans that have the less need for human interaction. Similarly as me, I don't have a huge need for human interaction. Never had it. I'm born this way. It's nothing to do with my unhappy childhood. Not at all. It just confirmed what I was put in there, so I technically would remain in that configuration because that's part of my work. And I always traveled alone before I went to this, in and out of this reality, but before I got stuck here, I always work on my own. I worked on my own for a very, 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 very long time. And since I have all the connection I need with it, I can just expand my awareness to go here and there and whatever, always be able to communicate with someone or the construction itself or whatever I'm dealing with. For me, it's completely natural to work and exist to work. And that's what we do. That's what we do. That's the purpose of existence. And work is not to create all sorts of ridiculous gadgets. Work is about transforming energy. When I was in the base program work scenario and I was working at office or recruiter was kind of okay. I talked to people. It had a purpose there. I helped them. It was meaningful. But I had also had periods of time where I was just doing normal office jobs. And I was just kind of, what the fuck am I doing here? This is so meaningless. This is so ridiculously meaningless that I almost want to vomit. And I was done with the work within 3 hours. And then I had to sit there for the remaining 4 hours. We only have 7 or 8 hours workday in Denmark. And I just had to sit there and just looking at the clock. I was ridiculous. And looking at other people, they were just, standing in the kitchen and yada, 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 talking about their husbands or their dogs or their garden or their food or whatever. And I was just suffocating. I got completely a depression being around that meaninglessness. So, which is why eventually I was pushed out of the base program completely. And then I began this, and this is very fulfilling. I'm okay with being in that rhythm of waking up and clearing myself and doing my morning breakfast, whatever time of the day it is. It's not on the clock. It's when I wake up. My rhythm is when I wake up. If I wake up 4:00 afternoon, that's my morning rhythm. Okay. So it's nothing to do with the clock. It's about when I go to bed and when I wake up. So let me say, when I wake up, I do the clearing work first, 1.5 hours to get back into this form. Then I look at what have I got of information during nighttime, because the enhanced humans are not really comfortable with giving it me directly. They're giving it to me during nighttime. So I wake up with messages in my head I need to clear my way to get to, because I have to go through their distortion layers to get back into this reality. Very unfortunate. Then I look at the messages that I've gotten. Then I have the morning routine, making my bed and all these kind of things, and getting ready for the day and eating some food. And then I do the whole who has communicated, emails, whatever, the business, get that one up and running. And then I begin doing the videos as you're here suffering with the first video of the coughing and all of this, again, physically clearing to get my physicality up into the energy band that I need to operate within. Then I work as many hours as I can. And if I have been kept awake at night, well, it's only 2 hours and I'll have to work efficiently to get all the things done before we reach 2:00. If I've been pushed to sleep after 2:00, well, then I have to wait until 10:00 and then I begin working during nighttime instead, which sometimes is the right place to work if I am, for instance, working on levels that are more connected to the original reality field, for instance. Then it's easier to work with that during nighttime. So I work when the energies around me are in alignment with the work that I want to perform. So I have the rhythm that is according to the work I want to perform, which is why we have to have our own business, and we have to select a type of business that can follow the daily rhythm, that is done virtually online, that doesn't demand our appearance somewhere other than once or perhaps twice a month, which is kind of okay. We can tip our toes in the base program, see what's going on out there, go into the office or wherever with our higher awareness and really see, oh, hello, there are all the slugs and the insectoids and the grays. Oh, a couple of dark ones there. Oh, my boss, this is a reptoid. Wow. Didn't see that one coming. And then everybody kind of what's behind all this can look at you and say, what? Like the Men in Black kind of, she knows what we are. Okay, then we'll deal with it accordingly. And then you will probably discover either once that has happened, they will do whatever they can to push you out because then you're no longer useful for them, or they will allow you to be what you are, but they will say, yeah, you just stay at home. You don't need to get into the office, or they will come up with other solutions. Most of the time, they will try to intimidate you to lose the side and force you out of the business. Once you get the double awareness, you see what's going on, you're no longer welcome in the base program communities that are run by slugs and insectoids, dark ones and grays, because they don't want you to see what they are. Okay, so that's just one way to put it. So things will naturally arrange itself according to your energy configuration, because as you get the tools to clear out alien technology, you're no longer a subling, you're no longer an underling, you are one that has begun the process of gain a position within the humanoid hierarchy. And that means sometimes you have to battle for it, but it's all energetically. It's all about who are you, what are we, what are the territorial claims, what are the rules of engagement, how do we deal with this? It could be some sort of a power struggle, but it all comes down to the configuration you have. If it's coded in, there will be no power struggle. It's just as long as you're trying to get the codes that they will do what they can to prevent you from getting the codes that will give you sovereignty. But the moment you have it, they will no longer deal with you on that level. You will get another level, because then you are entering into a new level of our reality where you then also have to position yourself. And that's what we see as the struggle with the different things that we are encountering, whatever that is. And hence the clearing work, get through the holographic overlay, because 95% of the time it's just holographic insertions that are effective enough, because it alters your holographic insertions or energy system. So it doesn't need to be physical, not at all. Not on the other layers of our realities. And that's also part of the struggle of having a business inside of this world, which is what we will discover eventually, which goes very neatly in line with the fifth cycle, because in the fourth cycle, it's all about tribes, right? We need to be part of a firm. We need to be part of business. We need to be part of this and part of that. And then we go into the fifth, where those of us who are part of the future human communities, at that point in time, when they unfold, they will have no money. They will have no contracts. They will have no hiring, because there the tribes are expanded out as being part of different patterns, where each are the what we call professional, or the skilled, or the one that has the ability to work with that pattern. And then that's your work area. And you will work for the reality. You will work for the continuation of the reality. And that would be the payment. And in that future, it will not be you have to earn money to pay for this and that, whatever. That followed with the Drakers and the scavengers, and they were trading inside the enclosure, and also ensuring that people would never rise to the potentials where they would reach the elite network. So they had to be kept as workers and breeders and under the enslavement, which is when you can't enslave them by chains physically and under kind of some sort of food and roof over your head or whatever, as the slaves used to be in the older types of societies. But the new version of it, you kind of, you're living as if you are a free person, but you're not, because you have to go to work, you're contracted, you have to pay your bills, you have to pay for food, you have to pay for everything. And if you don't earn money, then you don't have anything. So that's the new enslavement contract. And that's actually a Niburian invention, to be honest, which we saw with the Roman Empire and all these kind of things that came with that. But in the future human communities, that will no longer be necessary, first and foremost, because there won't be that many people, 40, 50,000, no more than that, because the reality field of the fifth dimensional kind doesn't need quantum. It needs quanta. It needs qualified, excellent, correctly coded humans that are the creme de la creme, that are not, they are the top notch of everything a human can become, and not all of these masses of distortion, sluggish, energetic parasites, clone configuration that were necessary to uphold this reality. But since this reality no longer has a purpose in the future communities, then it can fall apart, and we will shift into, as I said, the new worlds that we will be building with the new host fields. So that's where we learn that once we are getting there, and that's why the space station is a good analogy to understand the future communities, where we understand that we work to uphold the space station. We work scientifically with whatever is being unfolded in that space station. The colleagues we have are part of the sectors of the space station that we're working in. We can cross-sectoral, go into another sector, and we can work cross-sectoral with the other groups, but it will always be within the mission statement. It will always be within the cultural frames of rules of engagement. It will always be under the science project. It will never be because we are now getting together and having a good time. You will not see people drink alcohol in the lounge, because alcohol is no longer needed. Everybody knows it has a breaking down effect on the neural network, which is why nobody drinks alcohol. We could meet up together and drink some nice protein enriched, as we saw it in Star Trek, types of beverages that will be healthy and good for us. And we could discuss some of the things in groups in the lounge, if we like, over the tables, discussing some kind of architecture or blueprint or whatever. We could come up with jokes. We could have a bit of fun. We could play with the ideas, as I recall from one of the visions I had with when the Greys were trying to hatch me up with that male in Australia. They gave me these visions of he and me being in the laboratory, and we're looking at a holographic feature, and we're trying to discuss, it could be an altered version of us, by the way, discussing that holographic feature. And then he kind of made a joke, yeah, let's make it into this weird hybrid. And he did that. And then we were laughing our asses off because it was hilarious. We was joking about what is that walked around and all of these kind of things. Could also be from Atlantis, actually, because they already began that technology back in the highest levels of Atlantis, where the humanoids and the humans were working together. And he's a humanoid under the solar rishis, used to be. So that could be a memory from that one, but that's where we want to go again, because that's how all of the advanced communities are arranged around us. And that's why we are not connecting to them, because they don't want our human emotionality, and all of these movies always ending up saying, oh, the best things about humans are their emotions. That is absolutely not the best things about humans. That's the worst thing about humans. But this is, again, to uphold the base program and why it is important to have all of these interplays. I just scroll through sometimes at night when I'm kind of, what else am I supposed to do? Right, I look at a little bit on the internet, which is always a bad idea, but kind of, yeah, atoms are going together, protons and electrons are drawn to each other, so that dynamics will be created, and that's why males and females should be together. All of these, again, renewing programs trying to explain why it's important that males and females are together when we are having a huge portion of females out there in the world that are just, we don't need human males anymore. In the old days, we needed them to secure our home, and income, because it was made that way. We weren't allowed to earn money ourselves. We're just supposed to be breeders. So we needed the male for the sperm and the money, right? And the home. And then he could do whatever he wanted to do, and we would have a place to live, enslavement, right? But now females are across the world. They don't need that anymore. They have their own income. They have their own education. They have their own lives. They have their own networks of other females that are doing career. And to be honest, we're all fed up with the whole male trying to suppress us in all ways and forms, as males have done for centuries. And males are even doing it today subconsciously without knowing it. Even the good guys that are really trying not to do it, they constantly do it anyways, because it's so built into their programming. So technically it's not their deliberate choice of how they want to be, but that's how they're programmed to suppress the females, so the females will not activate, because we have the XX configuration, so we should be able to activate, right? Hence the control programs via the males. But more and more females are growing out of that. And the Greys that are coming in, they don't want their females. They don't need their females to breed with the males, which they get contaminated with the Y chromosome. So they are literally artificially breeding on these females on the spacecrafts, and their offlings will be seeded into the next generation, or they will shapeshift, so to speak, not shapeshift, but they will exchange the physical vessel that females have created either in vitro or with a sperm donor, or some sort of male interference that they think is doing inside this reality. Everything can be changed, right? So females might think that they have had sex with a male, where they might not have it at the point in time. It might be so holographically strong that they actually think that they're going out on a bar and peeing up some guy, and then they get home and have sex with him and get pregnant, and it is all just an illusion. Also, if we take into account some of the information Dolores Cannon has come up with, where she literally talks about the backdrop people that are, when we're entering into a scene, these people are holographically spring up there and just as props just put there. And then once you're done with that scene, they disappear because they're just holographic. They are not real at all, but they're real in that moment of time, because it is possible. It is crazy what this world is capable of mastering and putting around us, so that we think that something is happening. As well as she has explained how huge crafts have come over the highway, and the car and the person inside the car was lifted up into the craft, and nobody else saw it, because it's engineered only for the one that is being taken up. And I've experienced some of these experiences as well out in nature. So there is this enormous control of everything that's going on. So when we are talking about the normal base program, it's just a matter of time. I'd give it 5 years. And then what we think is normal today will not be how it is in 5 years' time, unless, of course, you're stuck in the base program and you're going to the transhuman world where they want everybody to live under such strainful, dire consequences that everybody will choose the technology as a solution, which is the step into the transhuman world. They will force people to use nanotechnology to upgrade themselves and keep their own health and whatever. And they will condition the clones to think that that's a good idea, often driven by the insectoids that are part of them. So that's that. Well, they will do whatever they will do there. So we will move away from that and begin to move into the future human communities that are now being given as programs, the new reality program, as directives and regulations. It is given by visions and insights. It's given by ideas. It is given by things we can work with, ideas of how we can create our own business, how we can work with this type of business. We will also have intersection from the grays that will give us ideas. At the moment we get to do something that is more mechanically driven, we know we've been intercepted. So we also need to be on top of that one and begin to understand the ideas of the future human communities as working psychic energetically as we were supposed to, but as on a space station. So we will use technology, but it will be used in a different way than a transhuman. And only if you really know the transhuman agenda and who is running that one, will you understand the future human communities. And that's a very fine line, which is at some point, it might be flirtatious if I kind of explain a little bit more about the transhuman agenda. But at the same time, I don't really want to give it energy. I just want to I know it's there in the outskirts of my periphery perception field, but I don't feel the need to connect to it, because I've seen enough of what it can do. The technology can literally become like the Transformers. It can transform. And as more and more people are getting what we call nanotechnology into their organic vessels, the easier it will be for the little nanobots in the technology to jump and become part of the human, as the Netflix show, The Travelers, also shows how nanobots can rebuild everything. We have 3D computer technology building organs. You're seeing everything is, the whole organism, organic vessel, sorry about that, being transferred into being linked up to machines somewhere or another. And everything that uses machines to build health is transhuman. So we don't really need to look into it and just saying, okay, this is what is traded in the advanced communities are not technology. That's just simplest thing in the world to create when you understand the holographic principles. So what is our trademark and what is our position within, sorry about that, what is within the future human communities, our sciences, our knowledge, how we work with energy, how we can reconfigure ourselves to withstand the interference patterns of the other groups, so that we can segregate ourselves, so that when they do let us into the future human communities, where they also have health systems and all sorts of technology, we will be aligned with their technology and not being intercepted by the other type of technology. So we need to understand the differences. And I know many of you that are doing the progressive work, you're saying, I don't want to go that way. I just want to do the consciousness and energy. And we can do that too. We can do that too. But we are there linking up to what we call the more destroyed levels of our original reality field. And we can definitely do that. But once the new grand cycle is done with the 2-8 pillar, and that's in 13 years' time, there will be nothing left inside this reality field other than our own energy systems. Everything else will have been pulled out. So if those of you are saying, no, I want to do the progressive ways, well, you're kind of 20 years behind. So if you can efficiently upgrade yourself and get that going as quickly as possible, then that is a possible scenario. But taking the situation into consideration, and you're part of the base program, you're in this organic vessel, and you're just getting on trying to live your everyday life as it is, there is a larger potentiality and a larger chance for you to take the step way through the host fields and the future human communities and then go that way. And you might even discover that that's okay for you to live there for a period of time. And then you might find other solutions later on in life that will lead you to a different way of using the progression path as well as the restoration program energy system. Nothing is chiseled in stone. It's all a matter of where do you feel you learn the most to build your complex information system. It's all about choices anyways. And some of you might actually, because you're more humanoid than true human, you think you're a true human, but you will discover eventually probably are humanoid, and you might feel more comfortable amongst the enhanced humans. So don't set your mind up and being stubbornly linked onto specific ideas. And by that, then are not looking into the other possibilities and options that you actually have, but is very similar to what you're doing, but you need to know the difference. And you need to know not to be immersed. And if you do choose to get immersed and entangled, well, then that's the choice you make. And then you will be there for a period of time. That's how many of you got into this reality and forgot who you were because you got so entangled. And then you just followed the pull downwards with the regression spiral. You lost your ways. So that's the lesson to be learned when we're dealing with these things. Those of you who lost your ways, you will be like an alcoholic that has become non-alcoholic, but you will still have the traits of just following the broad path and slip into oblivion. So your path is a little bit more steep than others that have kept their integrity, their energy configuration, and has not slipped into oblivion, but has kept it. And by that, it's easier to switch between the modalities and the different configurations, whereas the ones that have the addiction to some sort of reality, the tribal fourth cycle, I really want to belong somewhere, they are more prone to try and create a home where they shouldn't create a home. That's the ones that are on the space station and thinking this is my new tribe. It's not. The tribe is gone. Once you're done with the fourth cycle, there is no tribe, there is no home, there is no this is where I belong. You are where you belong. You are your own home. You're your own tribe. You are your own everything. And you share that willingly and knowingly with the surroundings in a way where you amplify and support what you feel is suitable for a continued reconfiguration of who and what you are. And I know this does not mean much to many of you yet, but you will understand it later on when you really begin to work with the holographic information systems. So with that one, I will end this video and we will continue in the next video, but that will be tomorrow. So as if things goes as they usually do, or another day, if not tomorrow, then another day. But the sequence that needed to be shared today has been shared in these two podcasts.